Last time I mentioned that it might be possible that the two chargers that we're going to have on this house and the rest of the loads combined might blow this fuse. So for those of you who don't know, this piece of equipment here is called the cutout, and this is where your energy supply comes in from your energy provider. Your local distribution network operator owns this, the DNO owns this, hence why it's got all of these tags on, which means if you interfere with it, they'll know. Anything to do with this, you have to call whoever your distribution network operator is. So in this region, it's UK Power Networks. So if we wanted to do, like a new fuse board or anything like that, and we wanted to take all of the power out of the house, then you should. Most electricians don't, but you should contact the DNO, get them to disable it, and then get them to re-enable it once you've finished your work. Now, what I talked about in the last video was the issue that we've got with two chargers going on the house here, because that's essentially 64 amps. Now let's go and see why that's not actually going to be a problem. Right, welcome to the garage. So this is where we have our second consumer unit. Now if I just show you what we've got going on here. This is the second consumer unit in the home here. So the primary consumer unit is in the house, and then this comes in fed from a 50 amp breaker. So there you go, right there. The incoming supply into this consumer unit is 50 amps. So if we were to draw 60 or try and draw 64 amps, all that's actually going to happen is the breaker in the house will trip because you've gone over the current of that particular device. So you can see here we've got the one breaker, the 40 amp breaker here for the Zappi. What we will do is we will shuffle this fuse board around and have another 40 amp breaker or whatever's recommended for the new charger, and then that will go in as well. So that's fine, but you're now thinking you're just going to constantly be blowing this 50 amp breaker, which actually you might do, but this is the good thing about buying the MyEnergy Zappi. So it's Zappi to the rescue. What the Zappi can do is we can put another couple of inductive clamps. So I haven't used any of the onboard inductive clamp connections for the current Zappi. So everything's using Harvey at the moment, which means there are two inductive clamp connectors left free on the Zappi. Now what that can then do is it can go and take a feed, it can be wrapped around the incoming feed to this fuse board, and the Zappi can be programmed to work round whatever the max loading is for this supply. So for example, you can set it into what's called monitor mode, and then it will monitor the incoming load here, and it will not exceed whatever that load is. So if you've got both chargers charging, Zappi will reduce its draw based on the maximum permissible load through this fuse board. So the maximum permissible load is anything below 50 amps, because that's what the breaker is on the other end. So all we need to do is set the Zappi up to a monitor for that. So if in the rare chance that both the new charger and the Zappi charger are both drawing or trying to draw their 32 amps, then Zappi will roll back and it will draw 20 or 7, however much headroom is available, and it will react intelligently to that. Now the only reason I know this is because some very kind person replied to my last video and said, "Oh yeah, you don't need to worry." So that's awesome. Thanks very much for that. Another reason for starting a YouTube channel, because people like the wisdom of crowds cuts in, and we get this kind of knowledge going. So that's great. So stick around. In another episode, we'll go into the actual fitting of that additional couple of inductive clamps. I've got to just go and buy a couple more inductive clamps for my Energy. Once they turn up, I shall fit them to this fuse board, and then we'll run a piece of either if the leads are too short, they come with a 5 meter lead, and I think that's going to be a bit tight once you go up and over and down again. That might work. If it doesn't work, then I will get a piece of Cat5 cable, which they recommend in their manual to use, because it's a twisted pair, or many twisted pairs in there, so you can just pick up a couple of those pairs and you'll get a decent signal going. They must be twisted pair to get the signal, so that's why they recommend using Cat5 or Cat6 or whatever cable there, because that's exactly what you need to do. So we shall do that in the next one. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.